But let's start with the Patriots. Jacoby Brissett now officially your QB1, which I'm not a fan of.
No.
I think no one's a fan of. You said it properly yesterday, Keefe. There are people who are good with managing Drake May and taking your time with Drake May. There are no Jacoby Brissett people. There's no one who wants to watch Jacoby Brissett.
No, it's all about how they view protecting Drake May, or how do you best make Drake May a great player down the road. That's what everybody sort of is going on. I am surprised that there's not a ton of outrage, right? Like, after the announcement came out yesterday, we had 4 hours to take calls, read Twitter, read text, everything else. I feel like on Twitter, like always,
big mad.
Like always, they're big mad about everything.
Yeah.
They're pissed about everything. But like the text line and even the Twitch chat and the calls that we took were more, oh, the offensive line's terrible. Like, you can't play it. Like, people were like resigned to the fact, like, yeah, Jacoby's the guy for right now. But I'm not surprised that this was the move. Like, all along throughout camp, all the beat writers are saying, like, all the first team reps going to Jacoby. He started all 3 preseason games. He was really viewed more so as the starter than Drake May, which I guess I have a question. We all feel like Drake May outperformed Brissett in the games and the last couple of weeks from those that are in practice, right?
100%.
All right. What if Drake May was way better? Like let's say Drake May was far better than Mayo and Van Pelt and Elliott Wolf and Ben McAdoo, way better than they thought he was. Do you think Brissett still starts week 1? Because I feel like if you win the job, you win the job. Like, let's say he won it in a landslide, but the offensive line's in the exact same state that it's in now. Do you think they would have trotted him out there?
No, I mean, not now. I don't think so. I think he could have won. And I don't. From what I saw in the preseason games, it wasn't a sizable gap, but he was better than Jacoby Brissett. Clearly better. He just got to the league. Brissett's been here a decade, so obviously he has much more room for improvement, much more upside. I don't think it was the landslide you're describing, but no.
It wasn't a landslide. But
I think now, looking back on it, even if it were a landslide, it would be Brissett.
So that's sort of my take too. Is like he really did everything he could, because it was rigged, as great analogy Kern had with us earlier in the week about how, it's a competition like the Globetrotters and the Generals are a competition. So you already know the result. Or even like a WWE match, right? Like, it's predetermined.
How dare you?
Well, I know. I'm on the inside on this. That's why I can still enjoy it.
Yeah,
I don't know who's going to win, but they do. The guys in the ring know who's going to win. And I think Jacoby Brissett knew he was going to win. I don't know if they told Drake May. That'd be interesting. His comments yesterday were I thought solid, right? Like, he's not, crying about it, but he's also like, well, Jacoby did get all the first team reps.
Yeah,
like,
he's not crying, but he's letting you know, I never really got a fair shake.
How would we know what I look like with the first team if I'm never with the first team? So, this thing was kind of rigged. In an NFL where rookie quarterbacks play all the time, this draft class, they're all playing, with the exception of him and Penix. And Penix is in sort of a more unique situation than Drake May is. So, it was frustrating to get it confirmed yesterday, but I don't think anybody's all that surprised. But I'm more, I guess, surprised that people are just sort of like resigned to the fact, like, it's Brissett. Like, I'm not going to get all that bothered by it because the offensive line's bad.
Yeah, so my stance on it is, all right, so it's Jacoby Brissett, and we reacted to it yesterday, and I was surprised as well with Keefe. And you can weigh in, 617-779-7937. I'd like to hear a little more Drake May outrage. I was surprised we didn't get as much of it yesterday. It was more what Keefe said, measured, this is the right approach, protect the kid at all costs, get Jacoby Brissett in there. I love Jacoby Brissett. It was more of that. So, again, phone 617-779-7937. You can text the show 37937. Or interact on Twitter and Instagram at Jones and Keefe. My question now is, now what? So it's Brissett. So this is your plan? This is the team.
All season. That's what he said.
And it's the plan for this year, according to Gerard Mayo. He said that multiple times yesterday. So now what? So now am I supposed to be excited?
Yeah.
Am I supposed to be interested? Am I supposed to be giving this team a chance? Am I supposed to wait for Drake May until Thanksgiving? Like what am I supposed? So now what? So now it's Jacoby Brissett. This was your big fancy plan. Yeah. No offensive line. No established wide receivers. I like the young receivers. No established wide receivers. You were going to try to win games on defense. Guess what? You traded Judon. Barmore probably out for the whole year. So your defense is worse. Now what? The decision's over. Mm-hmm. It was something for fans to look forward to. Now you go with the 10-year veteran that's never been very good. never been a winner. Now what?
Now we're never going to hear Drake May's name again. It's just going to be a season where, oh, I'm sorry, we're going to talk about him every single day. The only way we won't talk about Drake May is if in some crazy land, Jacoby Brissett throws for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and they win. Right? It needs to be like both. They need to win, and he needs to play well for there not to be first question of the press conference, is it time for Drake May? Because the fans are going to be screaming for it. Week 1, they're not at home, but week 2, they're at home. Fans are going to be screaming for Drake May, and the schedule's tough. I mean, we both feel like even with Drake May, you're going to lose a ton of games. But with Jacoby Brissett, you're going to lose a ton of games. The offense isn't going to look great. And so every single press conference and interview that Gerard Mayo does, he's still going to be asked about Drake May until he's in there.
So we talked about this a lot late last year. Are you rooting for the Patriots? Are you rooting against the Patriots? Are you rooting for a draft pick? And a lot of fans were real hard asses about it. Like, how can you ever root against your team? How can you do that? How could you ever root against the Patriots?
Like, I would take a high pick. I mean, it's a little bit different than the other sports, I guess, but still.
But this year, like, now that it's Brissett, what are you rooting for? Are you
May.
rooting for the team?
I'm rooting for Drake May to play.
But are you okay? So you're rooting for them to lose and get smoked by the Bengals week 1? What are you rooting for?
It's a weird spot as a fan. I mean, I think it would be. I'm going to sort of thread the needle. I'm rooting for them to win, but Jacoby Brissett to play poorly enough where they make the quarterback change.
But if they're winning, they're not going to make the change, right?
What if they're winning 13-6
They're not going to make the change.
Yeah, then that's frustrating.
I don't think, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if he's playing that poorly and it turns into one of those things where, like, the defense is like, hey, we need a little bit of help here.
But they're winning.
Yeah. Well, but what if the offensive line is like, okay, like Brissett is throwing picks, but Brissett's not getting killed?
Yeah, trust me. I will be pounding the table for Drake May, but
you don't think
if you're asking me what they'll do, they won't make. If they're winning games, they won't make the switch.
Yeah, that's brutal.
So
he's got like a 10 quarterback rating, and they're trotting him out every week.
So are you rooting for him to throw 3 picks and get smoked week 1 so Drake May can get in there
Dill
week
Pickles
2?
in the chat says you want them to win 2-0 every week until Drake May plays. They went on a safety. The offense scores no points, but they win. Yeah, it's a tough thing to have happen.
Do you want them to go like 2-2 and just survive that first month and then hand off to Drake May? I still don't think 2-2 is enough for the team to want to make a transition. I'd imagine 2-2, they're happy with that, and Brissett's the starter now for a while.
You'd have to be thrilled with 2-2.
Yeah.
I think based on the roster and
would you be if you're the team, you are, but as a fan, are you thrilled with the 2-2 start?
I'm saying the team will.
Yeah.
Like, if you're Mayo and Wolf, you're like, holy smokes, we have half the wins from last year in the first month?
Right.
I don't think it's happening, but you can wish for things.
So what do you root for as a fan? Like, I can answer my own question. I'm rooting for Brissett to go out, not get injured, but to go out there and throw.
What if the trainer hurts him like Tyrod Taylor, Justin Herbert? Are you rooting for that?
Then fine.
No,
but
obviously we're not psychopaths. We're not rooting for him to get hurt, but you're rooting for, like, what is going to trigger the QB change?
And then, maybe beat up a little bit. Like that. Like, it's, you look at it and he's they're getting to him a little bit. He's a little bit rattled. Couple of picks. I'll be rooting for him to get bench week 1.
What if
I'm rooting for him to go out and do exactly what we talked about with Josh Allen earlier?
What
this
about
week.
this? Well, they win week 1.
Yeah.
Right? That's as a fan, you want them to win every game.
Already out.
Hold on. Week 2, they're like, Brissett's obviously the guy, so the stadium's not really full. And Robert Kraft says, it's the opener. We can't fill the opener. We're 1-0. We just beat the Bengals. We can't go. So then he would have to speed up the change in quarterback. We both agree that Gerard Mayo,
he has to pressure it.
Can't do it. But if Robert Kraft goes like, hey, guys, let's have another meeting where what I say goes, and I kind of want people interested in this team, so let's go with the better quarterback and also the future quarterback. That's what you need. You need something to irritate Robert, and that would be, I think wins and losses would bug him, but so would not the stadium not being full.
Right. But then do you think they're going to go to Drake May on a short week going into the Jets? No. And they're not going to start him against the 49ers. So I think if you want Drake May early, and maybe you're fine with week 5 or week 6, you can let us know. 617-779-7937. What are you rooting for now that Jacoby Brissett is the starter? Do you want him to play well? Do you want them to win? Do you want him to play horrifically so May gets in there? The only chance Drake May is playing the first month, outside of injury to Brissett, which we're not rooting for, the only way he gets in there the first month is if Brissett is so bad week 1, they get him in against Seattle. It's the only place now that makes sense. Jets on a short week doesn't make sense. 49ers for your first start doesn't make sense. Until you get to weeks 5 and 6, the Dolphins and the Texans, or you get to the bye week later on in the year, week 2 is your opportunity. So what am I rooting for? Brissett to go out and stink, couple of picks, doesn't make it through the first week, meaning like he gets benched. And it's exactly how it went with Nathan Peterman and Josh Allen. That's now officially what I'm, as a Patriots fan, that's what I'm rooting for. Disaster, clown show, mess. May gets in there, and he starts week 2 against Seattle.
Yeah, so you know what? So at least because as a fan, it's just a weird spot to be in. We dealt with it last year, right? Like you're rooting for Chad Ryland to miss that kick against Denver, and he somehow makes it. Right. And you're like, you're going to screw him there. So you have to do what's best for the team long term. Like if you almost feel like you're a GM as a fan watching the team. And so at least in that scenario where you just want them to get the doors blown off them against Cincinnati. That's a one-off. So it's not like you're rooting against them week in and week out. Right? It's not like 70. But if it looks
Bite
so
the
bad,
bullet one game.
Yeah, but here's the other part. If the reason why Brissett is starting over May is specifically because the offensive line is so bad and they feel like it's just like he can't have any success with that, you need them to get smoked, but not because they're lining up improperly up front. They are, if Jacoby Brissett gets sacked 7 times and they lose 31-0, guess what? He's still back for week 2.
It needs to be about Brissett's poor play, not the O-line.
He needs to fumble and throw picks, and the offense doesn't move the ball, but not because it's just Ole offensive line turnstiles. That would be a key difference.
No, that's fair. So you can jump in on this. What are you rooting for? It's Brissett now. So now what? Yeah, you need to root for something. You need to root against something. When's the spot for Drake May? When's the right spot? I like week 2. I think week 2 is still in play. But if it's not week 2, you're not going to see him until much later in the season. You're not going to see him the first month, barring injuries. You can jump in on that.